I thank you for your availability to participate in this training. As you know, it is the 12th training session for our platform, the African platform, our platform for learning within PAFO with our partners, AHA, and the third session for UMNAGRI. So our session today is going to be on the general theme on general management of programs. These are themes that affect all the networks and which is quite interesting for the farm organizations to develop and to strengthen. So I think start by presenting to you the agenda, and I ask Zuberi to share the agenda for today. And among other things, I remind you that we have simultaneous translation, that you can choose the language that you want to follow in. If you have any questions, any suggestions, you can use the chat. So the other our session will run for 2 hours. I'll be moderating the session. Here, I'm the coordinator of UMNAGRI, and I'm also a member of the CMT, the co-moderation team for this, our learning platform. So as I was saying, this is a session for 2 hours. And we have 2 hours for interactions, for presentations, for discussions. And so we're going to start with a small exercise on the whiteboard. And after that, we'll have some interactions, some presentations of the experiences from the farm organizations which are members of PAFO on the theme of program management. After that, as usual, we will have group work, and we will go into groups of 2 to respond to 2 issues on this theme. And as usual, also, there's going to be a moderator in each group and the rapporteur for each group to take notes, be able to prepare a synthesis, the summary of discussions. And after this group work, we will go back to the plenary to present the work from the groups. Thank you, Zuberi, for sharing the agenda. And now, before presenting, introducing ourselves to others, our colleague Julien is going to share the map of Africa on the screen. And I'm going to request you, each one, to tell us, to name the country and the region where they are. So which country you are from? So Julia is sharing the... So now you can see where you can see the map of Africa on the board, on the table. So I'm asking you to, each participant, to tell us their country, and Julia is going to put that on the screen so that we can see the geographical spread of the participant here. So we start with Buanani. In which country are you? Good morning, Madam Raja. Good morning. I'm Mohamed Buanani. I'm in Morocco. I also present our friend who's sharing the map of Africa. But here I want to say something. It's PAFO, which brings together the networks which belong to farmers normally. They should not show the maps between countries. And here, unfortunately, I've seen that for Morocco, It is divided in two parts. I don't know how they did that. The southern part of Morocco, it is part of, it is integral part of Morocco. So that usually it affects as it goes to our hearts. Huh? And I hope it's an error. Because really, because I assure you that this is not an intentional mistake. It is Julia who brought this map, and we are sorry, Mr. Mohammed, for this mistake. Can you immediately correct that? Otherwise, I will not continue to work with the people who affect us so negatively. Julia, can you change the map? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Julien, est-ce que c'est faisable de ta part de changer la carte géographique?
Julien, is it possible to get another map of Africa to replace that one? Yes, it's possible. Just 2 minutes. Thank you.
Bon, en attendant encore
As we wait for the replacement of the map, I remind you that simultaneous interpretation is available. I invite you to choose the language, your language of preference.
Donc, peut-être afin de gagner un peu de temps, je vais...
so that we can progress better, I'll now present the objectives of our session. During this session, as I was saying, on the program management, which is a very important topic, which actually involves all the farmer organizations. And for this issue, we are going to try and find strategies on how to improve operational efficiency in terms of program management. We're going to work on optimizing our tasks, especially in relation to those who are in charge of programs. We're going to work on how to use coordination mechanisms within the different agencies in the organizations, the methods for collaboration between farmer organizations. We're also going to work on the definition of methodologies and strategies to improve on the collaboration on programs for farmer organizations. So those are the general objectives of our session today. It's going to be, as usual, a session for interactions between the participants. We are 19 participants with the interpreters, and I hope that the number will improve. So that we don't lose more time, I think we're going to skip this exercise. Julien, we are very sorry, Mr. Mohammed, for this misunderstanding, which I'm very sorry for it. I really hope that you understand that it was not intentional. So now we're going to skip this exercise. We go to the second one, which is Julia is going to share with us the whiteboard, and I'm going to ask you to write on this board the abbreviations, the sentences that you think which are linked to this session. Anything that you think is linked to this session and that you would wish, the issues that you do wish to talk about in this session. So this is the whiteboard. It is a tool on Zoom, which is used for exchanging with the participants during learning. So this is the whiteboard. So you can use it to write what you think about this session. So you write the terminology that you find that you think is close to the topic that we're dealing with. Julien is actually showing you the I'm actually trying to see the names of participants on the board. So I request you to write any word that you think that is related to the topic that we are dealing with. Anything that you think is related to this topic that we're dealing with today. Julian, you have the floor to explain how to use these whiteboard. Thank you, Raja. Again, I am very sorry, Mr. Bunani, for the mistake we made with the map. We are sorry. Regarding this part here, this section, we're going to collect all your expectations from the session, and you can now, you can raise your hand if you would want to contribute something and also share your expectations, and I'm going to write them on the part you can see here on the whiteboard. I'll start with I would want to start with anyone who wants to share their expectations with us. What would you want to learn today? What would you want to share today? So I invite you to share with us your expectations. Mr. Bunani, you can share with us your expectations, what you would want to learn today. You're still with us? Yes, I'm still with you. No, what are my expectations for today in terms of project management? That's what you're asking. I was not at the beginning of the session, but for project management, I think it's important to determine the very first thing is to determine the objectives. I think you should carry out a study. You analyze the needs of the organization so that you can determine which objectives are you going to fix for the project. Or you can also start with an assessment of the organization from the beginning and determine which are the needs, which are the opportunities for the organization, which are the risks, opportunities, risks that you can have within the project. And then the financing. Yes, financing, the finances. So I wrote, thank you, thanks a lot for sharing. So I've written objectives of the project assessment, needs assessment, the budget and finances. Thank you, Mr. Bunani. I now go pass the floor to someone else. I can see Mr. Tazi. If you want to share with us your expectations, Tazi. Mr. Tazi, if you can open your mic and no, I think Mr. Tazi is not with us. We go to someone else who wants to share with us the expectations. Maybe Mr. Kakesa. Mr. Kakesa, if you would want to share with us your expectations. Kakesa. Can I add something? You determine is the activities. So when we have the finances, the budget, and activities, and then after that you have evaluation, assess. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. So we have corrected four points regarding our expectations. Who would want to add something here? Mr. Kizuki Likango, if you would want to share your expectations with us, please, if you have some. Madam Rim, if you would want to share your expectations with us. Madam Rim. Also see Madam Leila Verem. Would you also want to share your expectations with us? I can also see Tinashe, who is active on the whiteboard. Tinashe, if you want to share your expectations with us. Mr. Tinashe. I think Tinashe is not connected also. But I think
sorry, Julian, sorry, I was setting up my things. I missed what the instruction was.
We are collecting your expectations for this session, and we have already identified 4 expectations from Mr. Bunani, which we have written. You can see them on the board. So he has talked about the objectives of the project, as the needs assessment, the budget and financing, and also the activities of the project. So if you have specific expectations which have not been shared here, if you would want to share them with us, it would be perfect. Otherwise, I invite you to suggest other ideas that you may have.
I think I will just add one more thing on reporting guidelines, compliance with reporting timelines and guidelines.
I've written respect the guidelines for reporting. That's what you meant? Objection. So thank you, Mr. Sena. Mr. Kipano, if you would want to share your expectations, it's now the last chance I'm giving you to share. Thank you, Mr. Tinashe, for sharing yours. Madam Lukanto, how are you? Hello. This is a crucial session for us, and we would want to at least be able to reconcile the indicators of a project with the results, at least. That's what we would want to. So you show us how the indicators can be linked to the results. We reconcile the two so that we can see that we are working on the basis of the results that we wanted to come up with when we were conceiving the project. I hope you're getting me. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your contribution to have written indicators and outcomes. I hope that is what you meant with your contribution. I think it's good if I put, is it okay for you if I just put indicators and results? Yes, it's okay. That's what I meant. The indicators and the outcomes. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your contribution. So the last possibility for you to contribute the expectations for the whiteboard. I don't know who, Mr. Tazi, I'm seeing that you're very active on the whiteboard. Would you want to share your expectations, or is it okay for you? Okay. Okay. I think it's okay for you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I thank you a lot, Tinashe, Mr. Bunani, and Lukandu. We have 6 expectations up to this point, and so that we can work on the objectives of the project. I think it is linked to the indicators and the outcomes. So I'll go right away, cluster them. I'll make some sort of cluster them in. We are talking of fixing the projects of the project, so that we can have them as indicators and outcomes. This is also linked to the need assessment. If you don't come up with a proper needs assessment, we cannot design an appropriate program that will give us the results and the indicators. There's also the question of budget and financing, and I think that was a bit apart as a theme. There's also the sharing that will come later. That the activities, once you've now undertaken the activities, I think we can also think of put activities of at the beginning, so that now we can cluster all these themes. So I thank you again for your sharing, and I stop sharing the whiteboard, and I give the floor back to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Julien, for the inspiration, that which is going to take us to is going to take us to the next step. So I thank you for your contribution. And now I go to the presentation and the experiences from the farm organizations in terms of this theme. So we've invited the people in charge of programs within the networks so that we can have an interaction with them. So I'm going to request now, I'm going to ask the first question for the person in charge of programs, which is Mr. Benito Yatsi. Mr. Benito is in charge of programs at SACAU. So the question for Mr. Benito is as follows. How can an analysis of programs for farmers can identify the areas of development and also ensure that there's efficiency in terms of operations in general? So here we are talking about the strengthening of operational efficiency within the network and using the programs. So good morning, Mr. Benito.
Good morning. Thank you so much. And I'm delighted to be here. Most of the things that I might be sharing based on the question that have been asked, most of you know it. But I think it is very important for all of us to really know in terms of analyzing the organization needs for us to achieve what is mandated for that particular organization. And we are talking of farmer organizations, which has a specific mandate. And that mandate is drawn from our founding documents. As you all know that you have your founding documents. And within the founding documents, most of the organizations, they do have what we call the strategic plan, which can be 5 years, 10 years, or a period that the members choose to have their strategic plan. Now, the question that I've been asked is now to work within that strategic plan to see how best you can implement to achieve the objectives of the organization. And in most cases, most of you are aware, there are two terms that are usually used: efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency meaning that you are achieving your objectives with the least cost that you can achieve as a manager or as an organization. Because sometimes the same task, you spend more than what somebody did comparatively. So as a program manager, one thing that you have to look at is how do you improve your efficiency in terms of resources that you are used to achieve a certain objective. And this depends on so many things. One of the things is the procedures that you follow. Sometimes the procedures that we follow, they are so costly and it costs you a lot to achieve something that could be achieved with less. So farmer organizations, we need to have procedures and policies on how we spend our resources, and we need to follow them. And those procedures should be, as much as possible, less costly to follow. And the other thing is in terms of effectiveness. As a program, how effective you are in achieving the objectives that you have for the organization. And effectiveness is exactly looking at to what extent have you or are you achieving the mandate that you have been given as an organization. And for you to check that, I was listening to what some of the members were presenting. You need to have a proper tracking mechanism in between when you have set your objectives to be achieved and when you are starting to implement. So there you need to set your timelines. You need to set your indicators that you want to see at a certain point. And that is going to improve your efficiency, because sometimes you are required to change the course of action and for you to improve your efficiency, for you to be more efficient than what you are doing. But also the thing that maybe I can talk about, maybe the other things might come in the other questions, is as a program manager, we need to have resources to implement the programs. And the resources, sometimes we all focus on finances, but finances is just part of the resources that one requires. You need human resources. You need a proper appropriate equipment for implementation or for communication. You need to have the proper space for your staff to work. All these contribute towards your efficiency. Otherwise, if you don't improve others and you have one improved in the other area, it doesn't work. So as farmers organizations, as program managers, you need to check in terms of what type of resources do I have? Are they adequate enough for us to achieve what we want to achieve? And if it is human resources, do we provide them with appropriate conditions for them to perform and for them to work in an environment that will enable them to be more efficient? So maybe that's where I can stop. And if there are other questions, then I can also respond. But it's something that is we can keep on discussing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Benito, for your answer, the intervention. And do you have wide experience with SACAU? And we really appreciate your answer. It was very rich. And actually, you've even responded to the questions that I wanted to ask later because you anticipated the questions. So I'm now going to request the participants. If you have any questions, or if you need any clarifications from Mr. Benito, anyone who has a question for him. Anyone who wants some clarification from Mr. Benito regarding his answer to the question, or if you have an answer to my question, the question that I asked Mr. Benito, you can take the floor. Or if you have questions regarding the expectations that you mentioned during the previous exercise, you can ask the questioner. So I think there's no question coming in. Thank you, Mr. Benito, for your availability, for your participation.
And can I add something, Raja? Yes, because I was expecting that maybe there's a follow-up question. But also the thing that you mentioned at the beginning in terms of collaboration, because as farmer organizations, we are not operating in a vacuum. We are operating with other stakeholders who are also like-minded, like us, who, when we collaborate with them, we can achieve more than us working alone. So in collaboration, always as farmer organizations, we need also to assess in terms of what is it that we are contributing towards our collaboration to our partner. In other words, what value are you bringing to your partner? Even if it's a partner that is financing your activities, you need to bring value to them. Even if a partner is just providing technical assistance, you need to bring value to them. So definition of a value that you are bringing on the table is very important. And this is where most of us, we fail as farmers organizations. Because in most cases, we have presented ourselves as recipients of an assistant, not as providers of service to our partners. And that's why we need to improve. And the partnership can be in any way, technical, finance, or just moral partnership is very important. I wanted to add that. And networking, and I think this is also very important that we have not yet utilized it, but networking amongst ourselves within our country, in the region, in the continent, because we have differences. Others are stronger on one area, others are weaker on the other area. So we need to take advantage of the strengths of our colleagues, and also they should also take advantage of our strengths. any organization that is present here, we have our own strengths, we have our own weaknesses. If you collaborate and network, we are going to improve much. Lastly, but not least, anything that we do, let's assess whether it is sustainable internally. In other words, we need to internalize our work. Let us not be over-dependent on partners that are external to the organization. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I wish you all the best. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Benito. Now, there was a question I've seen on the chat from Mingole, and the question is going to Mr. Benito. The question was, how can the analysis of specific tasks in an organization can identify the areas of improvement and also improve the efficiency in terms of operation generally? So here we are talking about strengthening, building capacities, operational capacities in a farmer's organization in terms of managing a program. I now go to the second, our second guest for this session, who is Mr. Shedrack Cheneza, who is an assistant to programs within PAFO, who is going to present to us the experience of PAFO in terms of program management. Shedrack,
yeah, thank you.
How are you?
Thank you very much, Elijah, for this opportunity to present in this session. Actually, it's my first time, I think, to attend this session, and I'm glad that you invited me. So I just have a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation of just 3 slides. It's not going to be long, it's just too short. Let me share the screen. So can everybody see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the question is about the opportunity for optimizing the execution of specific tasks within the program for better use of the resources. Just we are going to look on just 2 things. One is resource optimization techniques in the program management and essential steps for program optimization within the task. This will help us to understand it very well, this question. So resource optimization technique in the project management, first is the resource assessment. As Mr. Benito says, a resource is something which is very important in the management of programs. And you think of the 2 sides, not only the financial, but only the capacities are resource, and also the human resource and the materials, or are the resources. So you should first of all assess the availability of those resources. What do you have as a program manager? What do you have? Where do you should begin? Where should you start? Depends on the resources you have. The second thing, which is very important, is transparent communication. As managing the program or a project, you should think that and understand that you are not an island. You are working with the team. You cannot achieve everything alone. So that's why you should communicate with the colleagues and the stakeholders, so that you because sometimes we need to sorry to my colleague here, Solange. Sorry, I'm sorry for that. So I was saying that you need to communicate with stakeholders and the team you're working with, because you cannot achieve this alone. Maybe coming back on the resource, you know that as a program manager, you need to work with the finance officer, with the communication officer. That's why you should have a transparent communication. And also you should be flexible. This is flexibility. Sometimes you will see that you are using the budget you have, but tomorrow you will see that you will need to reallocate your resources. In one task, you have much resource, and in the other task, you don't have a resource. So you will need to reallocate the resources so that your activities will be implemented well. And also you need the performance evaluation. You need to analyze your performance. You are implementing a given activity, but where are you now? Where you want to be tomorrow? Do you need to improve something? That's why performance evaluation is something which is important for you and for your team. Sometimes you'll be a manager with a team or you'll be alone, but you need to evaluate your activities and the performance. And then we are going to check on the steps for program optimization within a specific task. If you are implementing a given project or in a program, you need to know your goals. Why do you want to do this? What is the specific goal of your project? After you specify the goals, then you plan and break into something which are small, let me say small or very specific. You will assign the task to individuals. Let's say I'm working with my colleagues or my teams, like I'm a manager in the program and I have subordinates. So I say each and everyone should be having a task to be implemented. If I'm alone, so also I will say maybe I will have a plan saying today I'm doing this tomorrow and after tomorrow I'll be doing this. Another thing which is important is developing a budget. Each activity should have a budget. You will not say that I will implement this activity without a budget, because it cannot be possible for you. It's like you will have over plan, because you cannot implement an activity without a budget. Then organizing the resources. Organizing the resources, just you finish to have a budget, and then you are going to allocate each activity with the activity resource. If it's sometimes we see that some activity need technical resources only, while others will need the financial resources. So we allocate based on what you want to achieve. The other point is checking progress and make necessary. Yeah, checking the progress. If you are implementing an activity or a program, you need to track, because you need to track and look back to see, maybe you say in the beginning I was planning to do this thing. Did I do it? Is it done or not? Why not? Do I need to allocate resources? Am I still on track? Is it my roadmap still on the plan? You remember in your beginning you have a plan, you have a roadmap, so you go back and check if you are still following the steps you have planned. And if not, then what can you do? How are you going to improve? How are you going to be on track again? And then the last point is managing the resources for optimum outcome. Here is just to check if you are using the resources where it was supposed to be. Because like in this farmers organization, the resources we're using, especially for financial resources, is from partners. In your plan, so I don't know if we had a session on the project proposal writing. I'm not sure, maybe if we organize it. But if you are making a proposal and making a budget, you said, I will do this activity and I will use these resources. So it means that you will not come tomorrow, say, okay, I was supposed, for example, to pay Zoom. And you say, and then you say, the money for Zoom, I use the money just for renting an office. So you need to make sure that the resources are being used on the planned activities. Otherwise, you inform. If necessary, we talked about the reallocation. You contact your partner and inform them, okay, we want to use these funds on this activity, and you explain the reason why you are doing that. So it's better to manage resources for the optimum outcome. What was intended to be done? Are you using the resources on the planned activities? So I think that I'm going to stop from here. If you have a question for clarification, I'll be happy to share the experience more. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this opportunity. We have had an opportunity to actually get presentations from the programs officers who have given us precise and clear information. And so if you have questions for clarification or even anything to add, or even to give other answers or responses, the floor is yours.
I've raised my hand. Can you see?
Yes.
Hilary, yes, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been listening to this presentation, and there is one component that has struck my mind, especially on managing resources. So this is Hilary from EAFF. So when you talk about managing resources, I think there are two components. So one is to have the resources available and used in the right manner. And then the second one is where you have resources, but you don't want to use them to do the implementation, and that you would want some activities to be delayed, not because so, yeah, but you really want to still, keep the resources so that then there is a delay in the whole process of implementation, and that these resources are not really made available. So I think we really need to think through how that component needs to be looked at, because then you'll be looking at it from the perspective that there are the activities to be implemented, and then you have again the resources to support the implementation. So it cuts across the two sides of the divide. So I wanted to seek clarification what exactly this means in terms of project implementation, because the organizations, the farmers' organizations, needs to be sustainable. And anytime you do a budget, you have the administrative costs. So the administrative costs, sometimes you have staff who you might not have budgeted for them, but then again, you're managing resources to also cover for activities that probably you might not have budgeted for. Yeah, so I think to me, this component around managing resources has really been one big topic, and it's one of the key things that the farmers organization need to look at, and probably even have structures or internal structures that could facilitate or create some sense of support to activities that were not budgeted for. And I think even going forward, I think for sessions to come, I think it would be very important to really have this management of resources as one of the biggest topics, so that then we are able to really unpack and say, when we write a proposal or when we are doing fundraising, say based on the strategic plan, then we will be looking at components that have not been provided for. For example, a service that, say, you're promoting a biocontrol tech innovation, for example. So in the same process, you will be having a parallel use of synthetic fertilizer, for example, availability of inputs for farmers, where you onboard partners to provide these products. So while you promote the biocontrol innovation, again, some farmers would want to continue using the synthetic fertilizer. I'm giving that as an example. So we really need to still have a topic or an agenda around this managing of resources and the budgeting, because that has been the key thing that I've always thought about. And as an institution also at EF, we are involved in a lot of resource mobilizations where we develop proposals, and those are some of the things we've been thinking. Thank you very much, and sorry.
Yes, thank you, Hilary. Yes, thank you, Hilary, for these important points on resource management. And I think that you have already asked the problem, and you have also given the solution. I do not know if Shadrach has something to add on concerning what Hilary has asked.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, he said that sometimes we might have an activity, but with a limited budget. Yeah, it sometimes happens. So on my experience, it comes, but also there is a possibility of combining the activities. So, for example, here in PAFO, we might have an activity for, let's say that we are organizing some kind of trainings, but we don't have a budget. But with another partner, we have the budget also to organize trainings, even though they might be on different levels. There is a possibility of combining these two. I mean, it seems like it's one activity from two partners. It's possible to combine. Like one might provide a technical, and another partner provide a financial resources. Yes, there is that possibility of combining the activities. But also, he also said, if I got it where he said that you might need to postpone the activity. But when you have a fund, is it, Hillary, is that the question? You want to postpone the activity, but you have budget for it. Hillary?
Yes, Shadrach, that is it. That was the question Hilary asked, but thank you very much for your feedback. I can also see Obedi, who has raised his hand, and you have just a minute to ask your question. Thank you, Obedi. Obedi, did you request to have the floor? Your hand is raised. So I think that we are going to move on to the next.
Sorry. I think I have a question, not a question, actually, it's a suggestion to Shadrach, Benito, and the whole CMT members here. That I think, at least to our side, now the problem, before discussing the management of funds, I think the problem that the farm organizations we are currently facing is inadequate funds. So my question would be, what are the proved ways or strategies to raise financial resources, especially to farmers organizations? Because now these open for proposals, it's just like they're not working anymore. Those donors, it's just like you need some sort of relations before even writing the proposal. So my question will be, what are the proved ways or strategies to raise financial resources that we can discuss that before even discussing about management of funds, because we are facing the challenge of inadequate funds. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Obedi, for your question. I have taken note of the question, but I will give the floor to the answers. Mingole, I'll give you the floor after the third presentation, and so that you are going to ask your question later on. And so I'm sorry for that, but I'm going to give the floor to the third presenter, who is today we are happy to be with the best program officer within the farmer organization. And so we have our colleague Imelda Agondanu, who is the program officer of ROPA, who is going to talk about her experience in ROPA. And so she's going to answer the following question: how do you evaluate the mechanism for coordination between the heads of programs within a program? And so, Imelda, the floor is yours. Thank you, Raja, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the experience of ROPA. I'm sorry, my colleagues, because our manager from monitoring and evaluation should be here, because it is him who actually ensures coordination between initiatives. But unfortunately, IFAD has taken this person and he has sent his excuses. And so I'm going to share with you what we usually do. We have elements that have already been presented in the other presentations. And so we have the same practices. And so concerning coordination between the head of projects, especially linked to the program, the first thing within ROPA is actually the strategic plan. The strategic plan of ROPA is the starting point of everything. And when you are recruited as a new person and you are in charge of programs, the first thing that you should be sure about is that you have actually understood the mission, vision, and the strategic plan of ROPA, because everything will start from there and will feed onto this strategic plan. And so the programs that we undertake are just instruments to implement the strategic plan. And so we have partnership with the donors. And so so for the institution and also for the leadership, we work on the strategic plan. And so everything linked to monitoring and evaluation allows us from the planning to plan activities for the program, but linked to the strategic plan. And so this is arranged according to the priorities, and that is important, the strategic priorities. And so we do a lot of consultations between the coordinators of programs so that we can establish a link, because we are in agriculture and everything that we do are linked to one another. And so when we do consultations from the planning of our activities, we establish links between the activities which look alike, activities that would go together, and the activities that will feed to the other. And so recently, in a program that we call the 3F, we did a study on the situation of the youth in the areas that are in conflict. And the objective is to see how they are living and how to support them given the difficulties. And so based on the results of this study, we have another program for supporting the youth. And so we did not only use the results of the study, but we actually worked on the youth that were targeted so that we can move on with the second program. And so this feeds into the strategic plan. And so that is how we usually establish links. And so as a programs officer, I'm not going to do a program without sharing with the colleagues. And so we look at activities and we also see what they can offer. And so a simple example, recently, we have a colleague who is working on agroecology and another one who is on financing. And so there was an activity on green financing. And so what we did, we took advantage of the activity for strengthening and also consultancy, so that we can introduce an activity on accessing green financing. And so the three are linked and they work there together. And so this will help us to use together resources, the efforts, and also the energies. And so given the tools, the different tools we have, we can actually use these so that we implement in. And so in these cases, we we do that, and that is what we usually do. And the other example, there is also something that we did, that is the Women Forum for Resilience. And so this is a program that we do together, that we did it that way, because we had the exchange visits for the women, we had discussions on the local aspects, and we had a show where the cooperatives exchange experiences. And so these are different programs. But when we were planning, we said, all this is coordinated. Why don't we use the resources effectively so that we can do a big show? And that is why we came up with a big activity with many women. And so one program cannot support such a big show, but the visibility that we gave to this program, this motivated many partners and also the people. And so if we need to do this, we actually invite the others. And so that is how we establish links. And so we have the donors. And so we report to leaders, not in terms of the programs, but on general. And so we write a report which is based on the strategic plan, based on the strategic orientations. And so that is how we establish the links. And also, as colleagues have said, this helps in using effectively the resources. And so that is what I would share with you. And if you have questions or clarifications, I'm actually available to answer to them. Thank you. So thank you, Imelda, for your presentation that has been rich. And if you have questions or questions for clarifications, we could ask later. And so we are going to have group work, which will be divided into two. So we have a group that is going to remain in the plenary room so that interpretation is available, and another group, which is Francophone, who are going to move to another room. And so we shall have two groups. I'm going to repeat, we are going to have two groups. Group one will remain in this plenary session room, and the second group will go to the other room. And so the first group is going to discuss the following question: propose methods that are effective in order to furtherize collaboration among the in charge of programs. So I'm going to report the question. And maybe Julian Zuberi, you can share the questions on chat. So for group one, you're going to discuss, you're going to propose effective methods for strengthening collaboration and coordination between the in charge of programs. So second group is going to work on how to develop strategies to improve collaboration within project teams between the different programs within the farmer organization. So I'm repeating again, develop strategies to improve collaboration within project teams and between different programs within the farmer organizations. And so you are going to take 20 minutes for group work. And so we shall have a moderator within each group. You are going to select a moderator among yourselves, and you are also going to select a rapporteur who is going to present the summary of the discussions during the plenary session. So I would like to request Zuberi to create the groups, or to create the Francophone group. And so you are going to decide which group you are going to work in.
The breakout room area.
And so for the people who are going to move to room 2, that is the Francophone group, you are free to move to that group. And so for the rest, you are going to remain here where we are going to have interpretation. And so I'm inviting the French speakers to please join group 2 for your discussions. Raja, yes, okay, I can see.
The space is also expected in the same area. So we share those budget lines because at the end of the day, we'll be working with the same farmers. And then we see on how we can make the event to be big and more visible. So okay, communication, we present our budgets, we present our current budgets and what we want to achieve, and then we see that a synergy, or maybe you want to go alone. So
yeah, I think our 2 minutes are up, Nokuba. Just summarize what you, yeah.
It's fine.
Thanks, Raja. I think we can leave it at that. Thank you. Make sure I don't lose this, Nokuba. Sorry.
Thanks a lot for your work. Now we are in the plenary session again. So I'm going to ask the rapporteur of the first group to present the results of the work. Nokupiwa, are you the rapporteur? We give you the floor, or is it Tinashe? Who's the rapporteur for group?
I'll be presenting. Good afternoon, everyone. So am I audible enough?
Yes, Nokupiwa, we can hear you very well.
Thank you so much. So our group, we were discussing on the effective methods to strengthen collaboration and coordination among project leaders. And these are the effective methods that we saw that were very crucial as project leaders and managers. First of all, it is very important for project leaders to understand the project so that it can be well implemented. For example, we have the finance, we've got the M&E, we've got the programs, and the efficiency of implementing the project is relying on all these people. So if one partner is not understanding or is dragging, it also affects the other parties of implementing. So we saw it as a very important thing to ensure that anyone or all the leaders that are involved in implementing this project should be able to understand the project and also understand the key activities and timelines that are expected in that project. And then the next one that we also identified was a platform. For example, maybe when the project is implemented in more than one country, where we can have a platform for exchange and sharing of experiences on the success and the challenges, because we have learned from the other projects that we implement at SACAU that we can learn other things from maybe Tanzania, we can learn new things from Namibia, and we copy them in our countries. We also learn the challenges, and we also learn on how they address those challenges. So when those challenges, they come to our NFOs, we are also able to relate and address those challenges. And then the other thing was constant communication is also key to ensure that there is exchange of knowledge. All project leaders are expected to communicate, to meet, and share information on what are the next key steps that are needed in that project. And most importantly, the M&E tools that guide on how the project should be implemented and reported with the timelines, targets, indicators should be standardized to ensure that everyone is understanding what needs to be done and all the data is collected well to ensure proper reporting. And then the other thing is sometimes you find that a project is implemented by more than one institution, And it is very important for all project leaders to ensure that before you accept any project, you ensure that that project is aligning to your own strategic plan, because it is very difficult to implement a project that is not aligning to your strategic plan. I'll make an example for my case here in Eswatini. I'm currently implementing a project whereby I'm supposed to grow beans for a neighborhood care point, which is something like the orphans and vulnerable children. I only know the part of farming. I don't know about child safety. I don't know about gender. I don't know about sexual harassment and all the stuff. So sometimes you find that some of the things that you are expected to implement there, you don't have enough knowledge. And mainly, my main focus is to focus on how to ensure that we have got enough food for the country. My job is to ensure food efficiency, but you find that now I also need to learn about child safety, properly aligned in the strategic plan. And that is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nokupua, for the summary. And I give the floor now to the rapporteur from group number 2 to present the summary from the group. Thank you, Raja. We worked on how to develop strategies for improving collaboration within project teams and between different programs within farmers' organizations. So we say to ourselves that for better collaboration within the teams, the foundation of efficient collaboration between the teams involved in a project, there should be frequent consultation between these teams. They organize regular meetings to enable everyone to be able to present their level of implementation of the activities, and this enables them to the people in charge of the program to have an idea of the level of implementation for the different teams. So the frequent consultation among the project teams is important. There is also the updating of strategic plans. It's very important. You must understand the different tools which are used in the program. And everyone who is involved in the management of the program must know which are the tools they're supposed to use. And within their project is also the issue of observing the calendar of activities, and the project officers are expected to observe these calendar of activities, and all the program officers have a mastery of the annual plan for the project work. So these are the points that we have actually come up with during our discussion. Thank you. Thank you, Vera, for your presentation. Thank you to the participants for the work that you have contributed for the discussions. I'm sorry for the participants who have requested to speak during the plenary session, but I wasn't able to give them the floor. Give them the floor to give their perspective and maybe clarification, but just because of time, we didn't have enough time. So now we are at the end of our session. I remind you that the summary of the 3 sessions that were organized by Munagiri is going to be sent by email during this week or at the beginning of next week. And so you're going to receive the summary of our work by email. Now I'm going to ask our colleague Zuberi to share the survey question for the end of the session so that we can respond to the the survey about this question. Mary, can you share the questionnaire, please? Just to remind you that there are only two questions for the questionnaire. You want question 1 and question 2. It doesn't take a lot of time. I don't know whether everyone has answered the question.
On a 6 questions, donc on a 4 questions comme question de choix multiple.
There are 6
Puis
questions.
on a 2 questions pour une réponse.
So there are 2 questions.
Réponse.
So I am only seeing 2 questions. I don't know how to go to the other page.
Is it okay? Zuberi, have all participants answered to the questionnaire? Answered the questionnaire.
Participants. Donc,
not all
on
participants,
peut peut-être une
but
minute.
we can add 1 minute. We can give them 1 more minute. Could you share once again the survey?
Pour moi, il y a le truc est là. Je pense que peut-être
the survey is there.
Oui, pour moi, il est là. Je ne sais
So
pas
for
si
me, the survey is there. So I think they need to answer the questions. So I can see that Julia has shared a document on chat. Julia, maybe you can explain to us the document that you have shared on chat. Yes, thank you, Raja. And so Nokompiwa has just shared the document that they worked on for Group 1. And so that is the summary of the discussions that were done in Group 1. And so that is the document that I have actually shared. And so we also have the document from Bila, which summarizes the work that was discussed in Group 2. You can now read the two documents, interrogate them. And as Raja has said, the summaries are going to be sent after this session. And so you will have all the summaries through email. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Julian, for this explanation. And so I think that Zuberi, I hope that all the participants have answered the questionnaire. And so I would like to thank you very much once again. You can actually share the questionnaire once again if you have not answered to the questionnaire. And so Zuberi, would you like to take time to discuss the results of the survey?
Je pense qu'on peut juste
we could
montrer les résultats qui sont là.
We could just show the results of the survey because
tout le monde qui a pu répondre.
It is not everybody who has been able to answer to the questionnaire, but we already have the results that you can see shared. So you could actually see the results of the survey. But generally,
les commentaires sont très
The
bons. Donc, les
comments
gens
are
disent
very
que
good, and so people are
il y a
saying that
d'amélioration à faire,
there
mais
has been
en général, c'est
improvements
bon.
to be done,
D'après
but
ce que
on
je
a
vois, je
general
ne peux pas
level, it is very
parcourir
good.
tous
I'm
les
not going
résultats en
to
même temps,
read
mais en
all the
général, je
results
vois
at the
que
same time,
le
but
résultat est
as a
bon.
summary, I can note that the results are positive. And so thank you very much for your availability, and thank you each one of us for being here with us during the 3 sessions by UMNAGRI. And I would like to request you to continue with the training by the other farmer organizations. I'd like to remind you that the next session will be 22nd February, which will be done by the colleagues from PROPAC. And so this is a reminder for these sessions. And so I would like to remind you to participate. Thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you, AHA. Thank you, PAFO. And I would like to wish you a good day, a good afternoon. Yes, we've forgotten the group photo. Please put on your camera so that we can take a photo, a group photo for this meeting.
Julian,
Freddy,
Mohamed.
Mohamed.
Oui. All right. One. Je pense que tout le monde est là. Voilà, je pense que j'ai tout le monde.
So I think that I have taken the photo
Merci
of
beaucoup.
everybody. Thank you very much. So
Bye
thank
bye.
you and goodbye and have a good day. Bye bye.